Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Russell here, and after a long summer, the parliamentarians, the politicians representing you and I are back in the House of Commons drafting new legislation and debating it for the first time since back in June. And they've come out of the gates swinging with a brand new piece of legislation called the Cost of Living Relief Act. Now they have Cost of Living Relief Act number 1 and Cost of Living Relief Act number 2, as well as a debate today that was held over the Canada Disability Benefit, the long promised benefit that has some problems in it that we're going to talk about. So in today's video, we're going to go over exactly what's in this new Cost of Living Relief Act, as well as some of the debate that's gone on around this Disability Act and whether or not it's actually going to come to fruition. But before we do, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and check out the links in the description, because when you sign up with Wealthsimple to either purchase cryptocurrency or stocks, well, you can get $50 for free if you use the link below. All right, but let's get into this. We're going to take a look first at the act that is a Cost of Living Relief Act number 1. This bill is one that we don't need to spend a lot of time on, and we've actually talked about what it's implementing in the past. The Liberal government has decided to double the GST tax rebate that you can get, the credit that comes once every 3 months. They're planning on doubling that for the next 6 months, so essentially you get double payments for the next 2 periods of this GST tax credit. But the part 2 to this Cost of Living Relief Act, number 2, has a little bit more information about the other parts of this bill that we've talked about, largely the top up to Canada rental benefit for renters earning under a certain amount, as well as the new dental program. We're going to go into some of those finer details and some of the things that I found pretty weird inside of these bills. Remember that dry legislation, all that text. I've read through those and found some things that are a little bit curious, but I need to give you the context that, okay, right now the biggest issue in the House of Commons, the thing that all the politicians are talking about, is the rising cost of living in Canada, and they all have different opinions about it. And this is a clip that I'm about to show you of Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader. This is his first day in the House of Commons as Conservative leader, sort of calling the Liberals out on their affordability, and the Liberals responding, talking about some of these new bills. It'll give you a little bit more context.
The government increased taxes on government's paychecks. On April 1st, it also planned to increase taxes on gas heating and groceries. Now, housing prices have doubled. Grocery prices are at their highest inflation rate in 40 years. Canadians just aren't able to pay. Will the Prime Minister cancel these tax increases on seniors and workers? Throughout this session, you will see 2 competing visions. Our plan as a government to support Canadians who need it the most, and then the other option, the vision of the Conservative Party and members who don't care about Canadians. We've just seen more money for housing, the dental plan, and an increase in the GST credit rather. That's money in the pockets of Canadians.
So we see Poilievre very focused on telling the Liberals that they need to cut taxes to get Canadians to save money, because just giving them small amounts through these various programs isn't all that effective when we have high inflation. But at the same time, we have the Liberals coming right back at Poilievre saying, hey, well, we're actually the ones that are giving Canadians direct support and help here, and trying to sort of make it sound like the Conservatives are against helping Canadians and the Liberals are for helping Canadians. Each side sort of has their own narrative. But let's go into more detail on exactly what this new dental benefit is going to look like, as well as this housing benefit, because the housing benefit, I thought that it was only going to go to certain people who are already part of the Canada Housing Benefit, a previous program, but it seems that that's not entirely certain. So we'll start with the dental benefit. You might remember that this is something that was announced for people who have children age 12 and under. You can apply for up to $650 per child 12 and under for dental work. But the amounts of the benefit are different based on the different income levels that you're at. If your income's less than $70,000, you can get that full $650 a year per kid under 12. And if you're between $70,000 and $80,000, it's $390 and $260 per child if you're between $80,000 and $90,000, and then nothing if you're over $90,000. Also, this doesn't get applied to you if you have health insurance or dental insurance through some other method than going through the federal government like this. But here's where it gets a little bit weird and a little bit government redundant and kind of par for the course, because if you are a parent that has shared custody, like you're maybe in a family, the two of you living in a house and you have a kid, well, you you have to apply, each of you, separately to get the full amount for the benefit, because at the beginning of the relevant period, an applicant is a shared custody parent, the amount of the dental benefit is only 50% of the amount referred to above. So in order to get the full amount, each individual parent would have to apply separately for the same kid instead of just doing one application. Seems a little bit funny. The other thing that I wanted to show you that was a little bit strange, The other thing that I wanted to show you that I think is a little bit strange, especially given all the clawbacks that we've seen of various previous benefits, like the CERB and all of the headache that happened there, with the CRA potentially getting some things wrong, saying that some people owed CERB when they actually didn't. It was a big mess. It seems odd that this would be included in a reconsideration of application. So they're saying that the government can reconsider your application for this dental benefit that you may have already received for up to 2 years after the day that you get the benefit, or after the application, or rather the benefit period ends. So what they could do is take a second look at people who applied for the benefit, and if they think that they applied fraudulently or lied about their status, well, then they could try to claw back that money. Again, I wouldn't think that these sort of clawback mechanisms would be in place, especially given how challenged the government has been with that in the past. And soon we're going to talk about the Disability Benefit Act, which got talked about a lot today on this first day back in the House of Commons. But first, let's talk about this rental benefit, the new legislation that's been brought in here. It seems like, just like the dental program, we've got some income limits on who can actually receive this. Remember, this is just a $500 one-time top-up for certain individuals to help them pay rent. And like I said, it's income tested. So if you are making under $35,000 and you have a dependent, like a child, or if this is your combined income, if you're living with a spouse or a common law partner, then you can get this benefit potentially, or $20,000 in any other case. So if you're single living alone, if you have under $20,000 in income, you get $500, which is a significant amount if you're making only $20,000 a year. But I think that this likely won't apply to a lot of people because that is well below the poverty line, although it will help those people who are below the poverty line. But the oddest thing that I found in this rental housing benefit is that there's no clarity on the application process. We used to think that this application was going to be sort of predetermined by a previous benefit called the Canada Housing Benefit that individual provinces administered and gave out to people, but that might not be the case because they have a new clause in this bill. And here it is. This is the application. This is all the information about how we're going to apply for this $500 benefit. The application for the benefit must be in the form and manner established by the minister and made no earlier than the reference day and no later than the 90th day after reference day, just saying that you have to apply within a certain time of when you get the money. But the odd thing here is the first one, A, right? Be in the form and manner established by the minister. That's essentially saying, hey, we don't know. We have no idea what we're going to do for this application. We're just going to put this clause in the bill saying it's going to be in the form established by the minister being the person who put forward this bill, the government essentially. They're saying, hey, we're just going to decide how this application works. You got to pass this bill, but then we're going to roll out the application program, and that's how it's going to work. It could be through the provinces, it could be through us, it could be something entirely different. And this lack of clarity is kind of a theme that we're starting to see from this Liberal government in this stage of their power, is that they'll draft bills with not a lot of information inside them, even though they sort of showboat and saying, hey, we're doing all this work. There's not a lot of clarity inside of the bills that they're actually bringing to the table. And that segues me directly into talking about the Canada Disabilities Benefit Act. We covered this on a video before the House of Commons left for their summer break back in June. And if you recall that video, you'll know that I was kind of frustrated because a lot of the key critical information, like how much the benefit would be, when the benefit will hit people's accounts, like who's going to be able to qualify, how they're going to make sure that people don't get other benefits clawed back if they start to receive the Canada Disability Benefit. All of this information wasn't in there. But let's go over to Carla Qualtro's tweet and her video saying, hey, we're doing a good thing here by bringing this benefit forward.
I stand here in this place as a woman with a disability, as Canada's first ever minister responsible for disability inclusion. Because of your efforts, we are debating C-22 here today. I urge every member in this House to do the right thing and support this legislation. I urge you to join me and declare that no person with a disability in our country should live in poverty. Let's not miss this opportunity.
So she says, let's not miss this opportunity, saying we need to get this bill passed, which certainly we do need a bill like this. We need more support for people with disabilities. I know people in Ontario are often receiving $1,200 a month as a disability benefit, and there's no way you're getting an apartment for less than $1,000. So something doesn't add up here. But the problem with the bill is that many of the parliamentarians on the other side of the aisle say, hey, we can't vote this through. We agree with you that we need to do something like this, but your bill has nothing in it.
And the disability community has been clear. They need help now. How did we get here? Well, it's consecutive Liberal and Conservative governments who have failed the disability community. And after 7 years in power, this Liberal government has dragged their feet and now tabled a bill that is empty on the critical pieces, the critical details of a bill. Who is eligible? When will people get the benefit? How much will the benefit be? Can the member comment on how after 7 years a government could table something without details?
Because it's essentially a blank page. The grand principles are set out, but all the ways of achieving them, all the criteria and the amounts are to be decided by regulation, by the minister. So there are some things that need to be made more specific in order to flesh out this bill. When? Our biggest concern is the timelines. There are no timelines in this bill. The federal government is anticipating consultations held over 3 years in order to determine the nitty-gritty of this benefit, how it will be done. And many people are fearful that this will just drag on and that the benefit will be, they'll be waiting a long time for it.
So we have one NDP member of parliament and then a Bloc Québécois member of parliament both saying the same thing. We agree in principle with this bill, but we can't pass it because there's no information inside. And the Bloc Québécois one said everything is set by regulation, which I think is a very dangerous precedent. We've talked a lot on the channel before about regulation versus legislation. Legislation is the whole process of passing a bill. You have to get it voted on. Everyone has to agree on what's set. And regulation is something that is inside of that legislation that says this person has the authority to change this at any time without passing it through these votes. And this disability benefits bill, well, all the details are set via regulation. So if this bill were to be passed, the Liberal government now, who's in power, could make those values, the amount that you get, anything. They could change it on a whim, change it at any point, change when you can get it, make it not so reliable. And having that soft language in the bill, making all these things changed by regulation, not legislation, means that at the same time, if a different government came in that was less favorable of having a disability benefit, well, they could just scrap the amount via regulation and not have to pass legislation, pass a full bill to take this benefit away. So even though all the parties seem to agree that we need a disability benefit, we need help, the fact that the Liberal government tabled this bill with no information inside of it means that we're probably going to end up waiting an even longer time before this actually happens. But all in all, it's been quite a whirlwind over the first day that people are back in the House of Commons. Let's see if they can keep up the energy over the coming weeks and actually get some legislation, some bills passed. I'll be sure to keep you posted right here on the channel if that for tackling the inflation or tackling Canadian affordability, that first act we talked about, I'll let you know if that gets passed and what the debate is currently about it right here on the channel. So subscribe if you haven't already done so, and take a look. About 40% of the people who watch these videos aren't subscribed, and when you click that subscribe button and when you like this video, these messages get sent out to more people on the YouTube platform, so I appreciate that. Again, if you haven't, take a look at the links in the description. When you sign up with Wealthsimple to either buy crypto or to invest in stocks or ETFs, you can get $50 for free when you fund your account. So check that out if you haven't done so yet. And with all of that said, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I really hope this video helped you out at least a little bit, and I'll see you next time.